Okay, this is going to be the sample test video for Algebra 1 for 2020 Quadratics unit. Okay, this assessment is going to be broken up into two areas, calculator and no calculator. This first one will be a calculator assessment, or no calculator assessment. Let me turn it on. Okay, so what you're going to have to do, okay, is you're going to have to graph, or you're going to have to find these various characteristics of this graph. Get my marker going here. Okay, so this right here, I'm just going to go ahead and estimate that. That vertex is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's a 3, 4 for the vertex. Since the graph is pointed down, that's considered a maximum value. The A value would be a negative, okay, because it's going down. Axis of symmetry is x equals whatever the x coordinate is of the vertex, okay? The x-intercepts, we can go ahead and estimate those, okay? That crosses at x equals 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, and x equals 5. Okay, the y-intercept 1, 2, and negative 3. So it'll be y equals negative 3. To do the domain, what I'm going to do is label these arrows, okay? This is a right arrow, so that is infinity. Since it is going down, it is negative infinity. This left arrow, this is a left arrow, so it is negative infinity. It is also going down, so it's negative infinity. So for the domain, the smallest x value of all these things is negative infinity. The biggest is positive infinity, okay? And then for the range, okay, the smallest y value is negative infinity, and the biggest y value ends up being 4. And I put a closed bracket there, okay? The vertex here is negative 1, 1, 2, 3, negative 4. So negative 1, negative 4. This would be a minimum value. A would be positive. My axis of symmetry would be x equals, with that being negative 1. My x-intercepts are right here, so that's 1 and 1, 2, 3. So x equals 1, x equals negative 3. My y-intercept is at 1, 2. It's also at y equals negative 3. My domain, now this arrow would be negative infinity, positive, because it's going up. This right arrow is going up, so it is also positive infinity. Okay? So my smallest value of all of those is negative infinity. The biggest one happens to be positive infinity. My range, my smallest y value is negative 4, so it will get a closed bracket, and the biggest will be infinity. Okay? Alright, now, this one, they're going to give you a graph. You've got to make the graph. Alright? So, to find the vertex you can get by negative b over 2a. Okay? So negative b would be 2. Okay? Alright? 2a, that would be 2 times 1. So that would be 2 over 2, which would be 1. Okay? So my vertex would be at 1. Alright? And if you were to evaluate that, 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 3, that's 1 minus 2 minus 3, which would be negative 4. So that would be my vertex. 1, negative 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Alright? Since it is positive, that's going to be a minimum value. Okay? My factors, if I go to factor this, okay, 1 times negative 3 will be negative 3. Now, these are the only factors that would have to be negative. I'm looking for the set that adds up to negative 2. This one adds up to positive 2, so I've got to switch those. So x plus 1, x minus 3 would end up being my factors because I'd make my box. X squared plus 1x minus 3x minus 3. The GCF here would be x, GCF here would be 1. Okay, GCF here would be x, GCF will be 3, and since it touches the negative, so then my factors end up being x plus 1 and x minus 3. Okay? My axis of symmetry is whatever this x coordinate is. Alright, my x-intercepts, what I would do is I would solve the factors. Subtract 1, that's x equals negative 1, would be one of them. I solve the other one. I subtract 3, it'd be x equals negative 3. Would be the other. I'm sorry, x equals, I wrote that down wrong. I should have added 3. That's going to be positive 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So I have intercepts at x equals -1, x equals 3. Okay, so I solved that. That would be that answer. The y-intercept, the way I end up getting the y-intercept is pretty simple. The way I'd end up getting the y-intercept is I'm going to basically substitute 0 for x. So what ends up happening is my y-intercept also is -3. All right? Okay, so that can help me make my graph. All right. If I label this vertex, this is 1, -4. If I label this is positive infinity, positive because it's a right arrow going up. This is a negative infinity, positive left arrow going up. Okay. So my smallest x value is negative infinity, biggest is positive. My smallest y value is -4, and the biggest one is infinity. So all you got to do is look at x's, y's, x's, y's, x's, y's. Okay, what's the smallest x out of all of those? What's the smallest y out of all of those? Okay? All right, what are the factors? What are the roots? So I cross at 1, 2, 3, and this would be 4. So x equals 4. This is 1, 2, -3. Okay, so remember as you go from roots to factors, they come back, they change signs. So this would be x minus 4. This would come back as positive 3. Okay? This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So x equals -4. And since it just touches, I count it twice. Okay? So x equals -4, x equals -4. As factors, that would be x plus 4 and x plus 4. Remember, these are opposite signs as they come back. Okay? Okay, based off on the zeros, what are the factors? So they're asking for factors. So my zeros are at 1, 2, x equals 3, and 1 and -2. So once again, what would happen here is that would come back and change. This would come back and change. Okay? What are the solutions to what's the graph? So that's 1, 2, 3, and -4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay? So those would be the solutions. Okay? Okay, make sure there's dots where the solutions are. This is pretty easy. You just got to put a dot here, you got to put a dot here. Don't overcomplicate that. Okay? All right, what are the solutions to these? Very simple. I would just set these factors equal to 0 and solve the simple math. This would be just adding 2 to solve for x. So that would be an answer. And this is already set equal to 0, so I'm good. This one, I would set this equal to 0. And I would set this equal to 0, okay? Add 3, that's 2b equals 3. And divide by 2, it's okay because it's a non-calculator to leave them as they are as 3 over 2. Subtract 1, 5b equals -1. Divide by 5, b equals -1/5, okay? So that's going to be all of the non-calculator stuff. So you're going to be able to do that without a calculator. Okay? Now, this next part is going to move into the calculator portion. Okay? All right? So what we're going to do is a couple of things. All right? I am going to go ahead and use calculator or Desmos to go ahead and graph this. So I'm going to graph -x² plus 2x, all right, plus 8. Okay? All right? I'm going to draw this. Okay, this is what I have, all right? In order to find the various things, I need to find the vertex, the x-intercepts, the y-intercepts. And I'm also going to make a table out of this, okay? So I would do g-solve. In this case, this would be a max. So I am at 1, 9. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? All right? So the idea here, that my vertex is at 1, 9. I'm going to pick 2 points smaller and 2 points bigger. I'm going to show you how to get those points in a second. All right. Now I'm also going to do g-solve root. Okay. I've got a root at -2, 0, and if I hit over, I have another root at 4, 0. All right. I'll do g-solve y-intercept. I would be at 0, 8. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? All right, now I want to graph these other points. Okay? So what I'm going to do for that is I'm just going to go to menu and I'm going to go over to the table. Okay? I got to hit select F1. Okay? All right? And now I can actually put in these table of values. So I can put in -1 and I would get 5. So -1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay? I can put in 0, which I already know the answer is 8. All right, and I've plotted that point. Then I got 1, 9. Then I'd get 2, 8. Okay, so 2 over 8 up would be about here. All right, and then 3, 3, 5. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So here's what my graph looks like. All right, and my zeros, we already said we're at 1, 2, 3, and 4, and x equals -2. Okay, now on this problem, what I have to do is move that 4 back. So this is what my problem actually looks like. Looks like that. Okay, all right, so I'm going to go into the calculator here, and I'm going to graph this. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete. All right, 2 alpha x squared minus 5 alpha x minus 4. Draw. G-solve, this will be a minimum. So at 1.25, -7.25. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 and a bit. Okay? All right, so that's my vertex. G-solve root. I got a root at -0.63 and 3.13. So -0.63 would be here. 1, 2, 3, and a little bit would be right there. I got to write my zeros anyway, so I'm going to write those. X equals 3.13. All right. If I hit over to get to this other one, x equals -0.63. Okay. Now my vertex G-solve minimum. My vertex is 1.25 and -7.125. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph 1 and 0 and 2 and 3. Okay, I'm going to graph those points, 2 bigger, 2 smaller integers. Okay, so I'm going to go back into the table and I'm going to hit select. Okay, and I'm just going to type these in. At 1, I will be at -7. At 0, I'm going to be at -4. That's also my y-intercept. At 2, I'm going to be at -6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And at 3, I am going to be at -1. So here's what my graph looks like. Okay? All right? I should have also, when I was back in the graph, found the y-intercept. Okay? All right, draw it. G-solve y-intercept would have put me at -4 as well. Okay? So between those two things, you should be able to get that. Okay? Circle the equation, the best, well, don't worry about circling the equation. Okay? Let's just find the equation. So what I have to do, I have to create, so you have to go from your zeros, x-intercepts, solutions, okay, roots, whatever those words are. We got to go to factors, and then from factors we can go to the equation. So what those would be as factors would be x plus 7 and x minus 2. I would use the box to help me. X plus 7, x minus 2. X times x will be x squared. X times 7 would be 7x. X times -2 would be -2x. 7 times -2 would be -14. Okay? So the only terms that are allowed to combine are those diagonal terms. Okay? So I got 7 minus 2. It's going to be 5. So x squared plus 5x minus 14 equals 0. Okay? All right, don't forget the equals 0. What is the solution? A lot of different ways you could do this. Okay? All right, if you want to use the calculator in graph, we can. You can also use the box. There's a lot of different ways that we can do this. Okay? If I graph x squared minus 2x minus 24 and draw it, G-solve root One root is negative 4. If I hit over, the other one is x equals 6. Okay, and let's pick them out. All right, there's 6, there's negative 4. Okay, you could have factored this. Okay, all right, it's another way of doing it. So that would be negative 24. You find the factors of negative 24, 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. One side will be negative, looking for the set that adds up to negative 2. This adds up to positive 2, so I switch those. So the factors would be, I would put x, I have x squared plus 4x minus 6x minus 24. This would be x here. Okay, the GCF here would be 4, GCF here would be x, GCF here would be that. So I got x plus 4, x minus 6, and if you solve those, okay, I got x equals negative 4 and x equals 6. So either way you want to do it, those are two ways. All right, on this next one, all right, I'm just going to graph that. So I got x squared minus 8 alpha x plus 15. If I draw it, g solve root, I got an answer of 3, I got an answer of 5. Okay, and that would be this one right here. You can also factor that and solve it. Okay, either way is fine with me. Okay. Okay, here's the quadratic formula. Big thing. Make sure this is set equal to 0. This is your A. This is now your B. This is your C. So in this formula, I would put B, which is 8. I would put B, which is 8. A, which is 4. C is negative 21. A is 4. Okay? So then what I want to do next is I want to figure out just the part underneath the square root. Now, not this 2 and this 4, but just the stuff with the squared. So 8 squared, all right, minus 4, parentheses 4, parentheses negative 21, okay? So that gives me 400, so I can write that right there. This right here means basically negative 8. This would be opposite of my B, so this is going to end up being negative 8. So what this basically means, this part here, is that means opposite of whatever your B is, okay? This bottom here, this is 2 times 4, which would be positive 8. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is negative 8 plus square root of 400. Figure out what that is and divide by 8. So my first answer is 1.5. Okay? And then I would do negative 8 minus the square root of 400. Whoops. Divided by 8. So that gives me negative 3.5. So down here where my answers are supposed to be, I would write x equals 1.5, x equals negative 3.5. Okay? This one, I have to move this back over. So what's going to happen when that moves back over? That's going to be x squared. Now that's going to be positive 36x. Okay? And then this is going to be positive 60 equals 0. Okay? All right, so my A here is 1, my B here is 36, and my C here is 60. Okay, so what I got is I got negative 36. Okay, I'm sorry, I got 36 there, apologize. 36 here, 1 here, and 60 here, and this would also be a 1. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I am going to type in just the part underneath the square root, 36 squared minus 4 times 1 times 60. Okay, so I figure out that's 1,056. This means opposite of B, so I put negative 36 here. 2 times 1 would be 2. Okay, now I'm going to add negative 36 plus square root of 1,056 divided by 2. My first answer is x equals negative 1.75. Then I would do negative 36 minus square root of 1,056 divided by 2 is negative 34.24. Okay, this one I got to move this 25 back. So this would be negative x squared plus 10x. Opposite of 25 would be negative 25. Very important you have the A, B, then C order. So my A here will be negative 1, B will be 10, C will be negative 25. So 10 will go here, 10 will go here, negative 1 will go here, negative 25 will go here, negative 1 will go there. Okay? So once again, I'm going to figure out the part underneath the square root. 10 squared minus 4, negative 1, negative 25. Okay? So the part underneath there would be 0. The opposite of 10 would be negative 10. This would be negative 2. Okay? So I do negative 10 plus the square root of 0. Get an answer, divide by negative 2. One of the answers is 5. Then I do negative 10 minus the square root of 0 divided by 2. That's also going to be x equals negative 5. Oh, whoops, I forgot to divide by negative 2, sorry. Negative 10 divided by negative 2. That answer is also 5. So both answers will end up being 5. You can write those down there. I just didn't want to do it because of the room. Okay? Factors, this is already factored for you. That would be 2x, x minus 4. All right, if I set both of these equal to 0, I divide by 2 here, that would be x equals 0. X minus 4 equals 0. You can add 4, that would be x equals 4. So x equals 0, x equals 4. This I would factor. Okay, 1 times 12 would be 12. Factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. If I have negatives, this multiplies but doesn't give me that. So I gotta make both sides negative. I'm looking for that set. Okay? So x squared minus 2x minus 6x plus 12. This row would be an x. This row would be a negative 2, x, and negative 6. Okay? So my factors are x minus 2, x minus 6. I would set these equal to 0. That would just be x equals 2 for an answer. This would be, if I set this equal to 0, this would be x equals 6. Okay? This one I have to move the 6 back here. So that's 3m squared plus 7m minus 6 equals 0. Times that would be negative 18. Factors of negative 18 are 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. One side negative. This said would add up to 7. Okay? So I got 3m squared minus 2m plus 9m minus 6. This row would have a 3 with an m. This row would have a 2 with a minus. This would be a 1 with an m. This would be just a 3. So my factors there are 3m minus 2 and 1m plus 3.
This is a reminder that the schedule is 513. If students have first lunch and they're in lunch, they can just remain there. Teachers, just make sure you take attendance when they come to your class. Thank you.
Okay, and then I solve this other one for m plus 3 equaling 0. That's going to be a subtraction of 3, so m equals negative 3. Okay, so those are the solutions. Okay, this one, if I do the factors of 49, 1 and 49, 7 and 7. I start out making one side negative, but this doesn't multiply to get this, so I got to make both sides negative. I'm looking for the set that adds up to negative 14. Okay, so r squared minus 7r minus 7r plus 49. This row would have an r in common, no other number. This would have a 7, but no r, and it's negative because it touches. R, but no other number, and that would be negative 7 right there. So it's r minus 7 and r minus 7. So if you set those equal to 0, I really like to solve it once because it's the same thing. I just write r equals 7 2 times. Okay? All right, moving on to this one. Okay? All right, if you want to, you can use your Desmos to come up with your graph or your table. Okay? So that's 5 alpha x squared minus 2x. Okay, minus 7. Okay, so my table, if I want to put these in, that's negative 2. That's 17. Negative 1, which is 0. Okay, 0 is negative 7. 0.2 is negative 7.2. 1 is negative 4. 2 is 9. 3 is 32. Okay, so some of these are off the graph. So negative 1, I could graph negative 1, 0, 0, negative 7, 0.2, negative 7.2, 1, negative 4, 2, 2, 9, and then I would just have this little graph here. Okay? All right? And that's pretty much what you would do. It's a pretty simple chapter. You just got to practice it a little bit, go through the quadratic formula, and you should be fine.